I think like I was going through a kind of dark time in my life where I was trying to escape the stresses of the situation I was in by buying up old video games and stuff. My old roommate was definitely a Dark Times collector. My Dark Times was my WoW obsession. I hear you. I have a friend who also went through a dark time in their life and they played a ton of WoW during that phase. And he's out of it now and he's gotten his life on track, which is great, but yeah, being an adult can be really hard. Yeah, I thought my whole life I would just like do hard work hard at school and it would just happen for me, and it didn't. And I never got another radio job again on air. Like I'd applied to almost every radio station in Canada. I had demo, I had the experience, and no, nothing. No one wanted me. And at that point realized like, oh man, like realizing that, oh, just the whole idea of like do good in school and then that should be enough, like no, that really wasn't it. That I took that really hard, and it just put me in a position where like, all right, I was ready to start being an adult now, and now my life is on hold. And for the next 6 months of my life it was just me graduated from school, I had a career, I lost it for reasons beyond my control. I got cut because the radio station needed to make budget cuts, and I just felt like a complete failure at that point. Like I could have, what more could I do? And it was at that point where I got another job in the radio industry. It was in a different department. I was on the promotions team, and for like a year and a half I was just like super depressed about where my life had gone, and had I done all this work to just like work as a stock, and like no offense to anyone who works in retail or anything like that. I don't mean it that way, but like that was not what I was trying to get out of, like, that wasn't the path for me, at least not what I wanted to do. And it looked like that's where I was going to end up. So yeah, I mean, just to not think about that stuff, or yeah, get my mind elsewhere. Around that time my mom, yeah, because I lost my job just before Christmas, and that Christmas my mom gave me a Super Nintendo, which meant a lot because this is opening up all these cans of worms here. When I was a kid, my house got robbed and my Super Nintendo got stolen, my Nintendo 64, all my games, like everything gone. And I got a Super Nintendo back, and it like brought me back to this like really pure place in my life where like I remember being so happy when I got that Super Nintendo, and I can trace back like how I became a hardcore gaming enthusiast because of that moment and how much fun I had and the fun I would have to come. And I really got stuck in that place of wanting to go back there. And it started out with me buying up a bunch of Super Nintendo games, a lot of the ones that I lost, a couple of the ones that I never got to own back when I was a kid. And then I got an NES and I started buying games for that. Got the Atari, started buying games for that. And yeah, that's just kind of where my mind went, of like, let's just buy these games and play them again and try and feel like, get my mind back in that place where I was young and innocent and just having fun. And it ultimately like it didn't work. I was still working a job that I didn't like, and eventually I just made the decision that I need to go back to school and try this thing again and put myself in a better position the next time around. And that's how I got out of my dark times, and it worked out. I mean, I graduated, I met my now wife at school, and the rest is history, I guess. But yeah, I guess for some people, like, yeah, how you cope with that can be very different. Maybe it's games, Maybe it's music, maybe it's board games. I see a lot of stuff on Board Game Geek about people who like they've gone through some dark times and they just buy tons of board games. Um, like whatever it is, I think the healthiest thing you can do, like if you can talk to someone about how you're feeling, there are professional resources for that. Even just like family and friends is a place to start, instead of just bottling it up and then it coming out in other weird ways. Like I don't want you to like hurt yourself or anything like that, or bankrupt yourself trying to chase old nostalgia that isn't ultimately going to make you happy in the long run. Man, this conversation took a really weird dark turn, but that's okay. Yeah, I hope Muligoon, you have gone out of your dark times, or at least more or less out. Like I still have my times where I don't feel so great, but um yeah, I think like I'm mostly in a good spot. Like I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Man, I hear you. And it's funny that you say that. Like I went to college, I graduated college twice, and 5 years into my advertising career, I realized that I wanted to do something else. And I feel like I'm an imposter in times of my current job. Yep, I totally hear you on that, and sometimes I feel that way as well. Um, but I mean, if you're doing well and they like you enough to keep you around, then I just keep doing what you do. And maybe sometimes you'll feel like maybe you will make the step to find whatever it is that makes you happy. Like yeah, I went back to school, and I chose advertising in particular because when I graduated, or what's it called, when I was trying to apply for announcing jobs, like no one was talking to me. The only job interview I got was for a copywriting gig, so like writing the advertisements. I'd written some ads for the radio station I was working for, and I made a demo, and one radio station called me up, and I did that interview. They were like hundreds of kilometers away from my house. I would have had to have moved out, and it ultimately didn't work out, but it got me thinking, like, I've got these skills, I enjoy writing these ads, what if I pursue that in school? I already have some experience in radio, I've got some experience writing ads, like I can just build on this. And then a year into college, I realized, like, no, I don't want to write ads. But then we also had like courses in digital advertising, and I was like, that's the field I want to go into. I'm a nerdy dude, I like technology, let's see what I can do here. And even after graduating, I didn't know like what exactly that meant. Like I had the background in digital advertising, but I didn't even know what role I wanted. And so my wife had gotten a job in advertising first, and then a job opening came up at her work. They interviewed me for a project management position, which like I didn't even know what that was when I applied. And I got the job. And for a couple of years I did it. I enjoyed it. And but also at the same time, like I got let go from there. I got another job at a different place as a project manager. But then this was also a much smaller company, and they needed someone to do user experience design. And so I ended up doing like both jobs for a long time. And at a certain point I was like, I just want to do the user design stuff and not the project management stuff. And so I was fortunate enough to be in a position where I could switch like mid-career without having to go back to school or anything like that. And so far it's been good. But I don't know where I'm going to be ultimately. Like my mom, for an example, she has been working as an accountant for almost 30 years now. And about a decade ago, she got her family's first dog. Fell in love with the dog. Dog passed. She's gotten a couple of other dogs since, and my mom also really likes to cook. So she started making food for her dogs, and she got into raw dog food, and now she runs a business out of her house selling raw dog food, and it makes her a lot of money, and she's really passionate about that stuff. And at some point, I mean, fingers crossed for her, like, I hope she ends up getting to a place where she can quit her full-time accounting job and just concentrate on this other business that she loves so much. And yeah, just to think, like, we don't know what we're gonna be when we grow up. My mom is like, I'm not gonna air out how old my mom is, but she's worked decades in the same job, and now she's at a place where, like, maybe she's not gonna do that anymore. She's gonna go just on a completely different thing. So maybe I do a completely different thing someday. I've already done multiple completely different things. I don't know. You just kind of go with it as best as you can. I guess sometimes you have to take control, sometimes you roll with it. Man, I'm just mixing up all the metaphors and analogies. I don't even really know how we got here. Oh, it's the growing up part. Yeah. We're always growing. We're always growing. We're always learning new things.